and on software quality conference and the ISCE. And I'm Sanjay Mishra from Oxford University in Norway. I think two of them papers belongs to IFSQ. It's my session and others from. So the first paper is the Qatar's Smart Sustainable Urban Project,
Yes.
Meshri downtown Doha. I'm
Yes.
sure that Bidur, Mehmesh, or Robert, who is presenting?
Yes. Budur.
Bidur, okay.
Yes.
So Bidur is already present. And are you ready, Bidur?
Yes. I'm gonna share my screen now.
Okay. So you are welcome. Anything you want to welcome to this last session of the ISCA 2022? Uh, and we welcome you all. After then, we have a keynote speech. You are also welcome to there. Also, for your notice, we have some special issues. We will invite the authors whose papers are excellent, MDPI and in IGI and other publishers. So, Bedur,
Yes.
so you can start.
Yes. Okay. I'm just trying to share my screen. Just 1 second.
Okay. Do we need to give his permission to upload? No, automatically. Okay.
Yes, because it says that I don't have permission.
Yeah, from where to get the permission? No, it is you. We are doing everything here, right?
The others ones,
No, you have to give to particular and then you need to, I know it, where it, seconds.
in the other ones, all the participants have permission, so it's automatic.
Call to this guy, I think second. Yeah. Yeah, can you tell me that how to share the yes.
You want to share what?
No, not me, but the author.
The speaker?
So can you see my screen now? Hello?
Yes, we can see your screen.
Yes, so if we want to give this lady, yeah, you can share. What's the problem?
Yes, okay. So all of you can see.
If you don't
Okay, so I'm gonna start. So first, my name is Budur and I'm from Qatar. I'm currently studying logistics and supply chain in Hamad bin Khalifa University's master's degree. So my topic today is about Qatar's smart and sustainable urban project, about a specific project which is in Sharab, downtown Doha. So before we
I'm sorry, I do apologize to interrupt you, but we cannot see your full screen presentation. Perhaps you should switch uh, the view because we cannot see. Okay.
Still do the full screen. Please do the full screen. Yes, from go right, go right, go right. Yes.
but it will not share the full screen. Okay, just give me a few minutes, a few seconds. I'll fix that.
What is the problem? Can we go for the next presentation? And meanwhile, you can set because all the authors are present.
Yes, yes, sure. Just I need one. Someone can present, and I'll do it next. It's just opening.
Yeah, but please make sure that you know how to present all those things.
Yes, yes, I
Okay,
do.
if the second author is present, Mauricio
Yes.
Polino. Yeah, can you
Hi,
please?
hello. This is Maurizio. If you want, I'm ready to share
Yes,
my
it's better.
presentation.
Please, Badur, please unshare your screen. Everything is from you. Yes, please go ahead. Yes,
Okay.
good. Fantastic. Go for the full screen.
Full screen.
Okay. Can you see the full screen?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, of course.
Okay.
Perfect. Good.
Okay.
Welcome to the first present as a first presenter in the last date of the conference. You are welcome.
Okay.
We're happy.
Thank you.
Polino,
Thank you for Thank
welcome.
you for your introduction, Sanjay. I first of all I do apologize because I wasn't able to be on presence in Malaga due to COVID disease, but I will show my presentation
But don't
now.
forget to come the next year. We are going to the Greece.
Okay.
Okay. So
let, let,
Lesbiano in the island. Please come there. You
let's
are
hope
welcome.
to be more raggy next year. So, in this presentation, I will show you the preliminary results of a multi-hazard analysis focused on seismic landslide and flood hazard in Italy. Um, considering some critical infrastructures in the entire Italian national territory. In particular, we focused on roads, railways, gas and power networks, which are fundamental not only for the economy of the country, but also for the emergency management, especially considering the roads and the power network during a natural disaster. To this end, we used a decision support system, the so-called SIPCAST platform, developed at Enea, my agency. And we used this platform in order to perform GIS-based analysis of hazard and the risk impacts on critical infrastructures and assets. So we produced different geospatial layers in order to map the hazard, specifically focused on each element of the CI considered. And finally, we produced an overall multi-hazard map for each hazard considered: seismic, landslide, and flood in the entire national territory. The results are available by means of WebGIS interface of our SIPCAST platform. These activities were carried out within two different research projects, but also in the framework of an internship program between Enea and the University of Rome Sapienza. So the critical infrastructure protection is an important issue because there is an increasing number of natural disasters which affect CIs, but also specific parts of them. So this problem should be handled not only from the technological point of view, but also by providing the public administration and the operators with effective tools in order to manage the emergency, but also to increase the preparedness by means preliminary studies and analysis in order, for example, to have an extensive map of multi-hazard and risk in a specific area where the critical infrastructures are located. To this end, we developed the approach that I am going to describe, considering the three main typologies of hazards characterizing the Italian territory. As I said, we, as a GIS-based tool, we used the SIPCAS platform, which is a decision support system, which allows to perform hazard mapping and the risk analysis, considering the location of the CI elements in the entire Italian territory. The platform is based on a multi-tier architecture in which we have a first stratum concerning the data preparation and processing, in which are exploited the different GIS and remote sensing tools as QGIS, ArcGIS, and so on. And then there is a stratum devoted to the data and metadata repository implemented by means of PostgreSQL, PostGIS. And the next stratum is devoted to analysis and elaboration in order to perform spatial analysis by interacting with the final stratum, the front end, which is represented by a WebGIS application. All the GIS data, of course, are shared by means the OGC standards such as WMS. The three hazards considered are the flood hazard. Considering the situation in Italy, our territory is classified into three different scenarios according the probability of occurrence of an event. So we have the high probability scenario with a return period between 20, 50 years, and the worst scenario is that with low probability but with extreme impact on the territory. Say a similar classification has been set up also for landslides, spanning from the very high hazard to the moderate hazard, plus another class concerning the attention zones for which a specific classification wasn't yet set up. And finally, the seismic hazard allows the classification of the territory into four different seismic zones defined on the basis of the acceleration values spanning from the strongest shaking values from the very low shaking values. So, considering this classification, we gathered and organized the available dataset for the entire Italian territory, which are listed in the first table. And we considered the national mosaic of flood hazard, of landslide hazard, the Italian seismic hazard map, and national seismic classification. Such layers were used in combination with the geographic location, topology, and physical characteristics of the infrastructures of interest, also for the entire Italian territory. And in particular, the road network, the railway network, the location and topology of the Italian national transmission power grid, and the location and topology of the elements of the Italian national gas transmission network. Considering all the dataset available, first of all, we performed a single hazard mapping in order to classify each critical infrastructure network according a single type of hazard. And then we combined all the maps in a sort of a synthesized map in which all the three hazards were combined and considered. So the first step was to organize and homogenize the maps related to landslide, flood, and seismic hazard. So we performed a spatial intersection with the location of critical infrastructures, and we produced, as I said, the single hazard maps for each type of hazard. Then, by means a processing devoted to homogenization and classification, we produced the final multi-hazard map in which for each type of infrastructure we have a combination of all the three hazards considered. The web mapping is the next step. So all the results obtained were not only mapped but also analyzed in order to perform statistics such as the length, the kilometers of railway or roads falling in a specific class of hazard and so on. And then all the GIS layers produced were uploaded into the geodatabase of the SIPCAST platform. And then the layers were made available by means WMS protocol to the WebGIS application, which is the interface of our SIPCAST platform, in which it is possible to access and query the results of the analysis and and to visualize all the maps produced. As an example, considering the single hazard, in this slide we can see an example of flood hazard for the road network. On the left side we can see the map. On the right side we can see the statistics in terms of kilometers for each type of scenario in which the Italian territory is classified. Similarly, in the lower part of the slide, we can see the landslide hazard situation also for the road network in terms of map and related statistics considering the kilometers of road network falling in the 5 different zones in which the Italian territory is classified. In this slide, we can see the overall statistics for the infrastructures considered in terms of seismic hazards. So we have the kilometers of road network and the railway network, or the kilometers of power transmission lines, or the number of power plants falling into the 4 different zones in which the Italian territory is classified according the seismic classification. All the results and all the maps are available by means the SIPCAS platform for the subsequent steps. But the next analysis that we performed was related to the definition of a combination of all the hazards into a multi-hazard map. And to this end, we set up a multi-hazard matrix in which we organize the 3 different types of hazards and their related classification, and we homogenize the classification into a sort of multi-hazard index value in order to discriminate the multi-hazard levels spanning from the low level to the very high level. So, for example, the first row, the multi-hazard classified as low, is a combination in which we have low values of all the 3 hazards considered. On the contrary, the very high level is that in which we have the highest values of each single hazard considered. Then, starting from this matrix, we perform a classification of the GIS layer for each CI network considered in order to classify each element from the low to the high value of multi-hazard, And for example, in this slide, we can see the visualization within the SIPCAST WebGIS interface, in which the national road network is mapped according these four different values of multi-hazard. And in the lower right part of the slide, we can see the related metrics in which are reported the kilometers for each multi-hazard index value. So I'm going to conclude my presentation. So, as an example, considering the road network that we saw in the previous slide, it is important to observe that this lifeline is fundamental also during when a calamitous event occurs, because it is a network which is exploited during the emergency and in order to help the affected population. So a mapping of the overall situation of the road network is important, for example, to set up contingency plans and to analyze all the elements which can create problems during an actual emergency situation. For this reason, it is important to set up an extensive hazard assessment of the territory, but also to join this aspect with a territorial knowledge in order to favor the prompt response in case of emergency. GIS-based approaches are fundamental to perform such a type of analysis. And as I said, the availability of a user-friendly interpretable tool such as the SIPCAST platform can effectively support the operators and the authorities during the above-mentioned phases. Considering the future work, we will implement the next step. So in this part of the work, we focused on the hazard mapping. The next step, of course, is the risk assessment. So starting from the hazard map, we will produce risk maps, also taking into account the information about the specific vulnerabilities of the asset exposed, and to provide another extensive and detailed mapping at national level. And finally, the hydrogeological hazard mapping and that we used during these activities will be updated, because we used the version issued during the 2017, because the two projects were carried out in the past years. For example, Rafael ended at the end of 2021. But a couple of months ago, the new versions of this dataset were released by the ISPRA, the national authority devoted to this task. So we will update with the latest versions released during the 2020-2021. So we will able to have an updated version of the hazard maps produced during the first part of our analysis. Okay, this is all. Thank you for your attention, and if you have any questions, you are welcome.
Thank you, Murgio. It was a nice presentation. Uh, if you have any questions from the audience side, from the other authors, please unmute your mic and you can ask, or just write in chat box. Floor is with the authors, other authors who are ready to present. Any question? Yeah, so I have one question. Can you summarize that? What is the major outcomes of your work in 2, 3 points?
Yes, mm, we can have an extensive map of the hazard for the main critical infrastructures networks in all the Italian territory. So this represent a basic input to perform a next step, which is the risk analysis. And it is very important because in a single map, we have the overall situation for each hazard in the entire national territory. And then we have also a combination of multi-hazard. So we can focus on specific parts of the territory in which we have potentially critical situations because all the infrastructures falling in that area are classified with high level of multi-hazard. A WebGIS application can allow to effectively understand and interact with those maps and support the public authorities in the definition, for example, of contingency plans. And and finally, the procedure was organized so that when a new layer is produced, such as the new flood mapping for all the territory, the workflow is already defined. So you have only to run again all the procedure and to produce the new maps. So all the maps and the statistics are automatically updated.
Okay, thank you so much. And it was a nice presentation. Let
Thank
us,
you. Thank you to you.
and yeah, so we will go to the next presenter. Uh, and the next paper is the common quality measures for the enterprise architecture. Aarti, are you ready?
Yes, sir. Am I
Yeah,
audible?
please, yes, you are
Yes,
audible. Yeah.
yes. Sorry, I was by mistake in the last. Okay, first of all, as per the Indian time, this is very good afternoon to all the attendee all here. Thank you, Sanjay Mishra ji, for giving me this opportunity to present my paper in front of all of you. My title of the paper is Common Quality Measure for Enterprise Architecture. And to start with, first I will take 1 minute for explaining what is an enterprise architecture. Whenever we work for any particular domain, we should have a systematic planning. Okay, so in that case, whenever we organize any activity, if I want to go outing, also I will have everything. My itinerary should be ready. So that itinerary is nothing but sort of a framework. In any organization, the enterprise architecture will work as a standardization of different functionality. Now, in this case, the standardization will help them to design some common procedures, some methodology will be defined, some solution may be standardized, and some IC policy or some standard policy will be achieved so that it will be helpful for them to take the decision. This EA will help them to achieve the business goals and that too considering their budget. So, this is most important thing when we are implementing enterprise architecture. When I say the enterprise architecture, there are different things which we need to consider. That is a different responsibility. So when I'm handling the responsibility, it is organization's principles. I need to consider organization stakeholders. I need to consider what is the outcome, that is the delivery from my process. What are the different product or services which will be there in the use, and how it is going to help me out with the decision making. So if any organization follows the enterprise architecture framework, it will be very easy for them to keep a track that which are the process which are needful, which are the process which are not required. Now moving on to the requirement. Actually, there are different enterprise architecture which is used by different organizations. Depending on their CMM level, they are using highly paid architecture as well. The most important concept, which is directly or indirectly handled by any EA, is nothing but the quality. So, in case of quality with respect to the enterprise architecture, what is expected? These are expected like stakeholders' view, which is mapped with the outcome, or whatever the product value is there, it should be mapped with that. So it is a essential to monitor in every phase, like when I'm considering as a business level, or when I'm considering that as a data level, or any information or any application or infrastructure. I need to use the quality to monitor whether my correct output is there or not. Now, there are some principles, which is some standard principle, or any organization as per their requirement may define some principle. And this quality principle will govern the quality. Now, as right now also, I will go out of track for this presentation. Like we are having a timetable, the schedule is given, and that schedule each and every presenter is following. So it will be great enough for every presenter to understand who will be the next, and how when the presentation will get over, and accordingly they will plan themselves. So this is a quality which is managed. And if this such type of timetable is not there, so anybody will come and anybody will present, and it will be a mess. So quality principles are nothing but some set of rules or regulation which will help whether my performance is correct or not. Okay, or if my performance is up to the mark which is required or not. Sometimes this quality need to be like just considering the process, but it is always advised that the quality principle need to be designed considering the involved stakeholders, involved processes, and what type of decision your organization is making. So indirectly, quality is most important perspective for handling enterprise architecture. Now, there was a question asked to me that why you want to implement quality in QA, that is a quality architecture. Every organization do follow certain type of quality. Then why specifically different quality or different quality architecture? It is really to put the viewpoint, the stakeholders viewpoint, the process viewpoint, and how it is creating an impact. So this is most important. It may be the requirement may be very small, and as a result, the impact is very small, or there may be chances that the particular stakeholder is very important, and based on that is perspective, the major decision may change. So there may be chances that some of the organizations are saying that they are following some quality, but there may be chances that they may be ignoring some good quality outcome. And hence, we need to focus on the quality. There are certain quality artifacts are there which will help us to assign business along with the IT processes. It is like the methodology is followed, but that methodology is not giving the certain outcome. So
Excuse
hence,
me, Aarti, your slides are not moving.
oh, I'm on the second slide, sir.
Yes, yes, please.
Okay, yes, sir. So quality value chain need to be monitored as per the different EA level. Each enterprise architecture level is consist of 5 levels. First is a business architecture, second one is a data architecture, third one is application architecture, fourth one is information architecture, and last one is a infrastructure architecture. So every architecture follows certain quality value chain. Now, in this paper, we have proposed one quality model for enterprise architecture. And in this case, we have considered 3P. These 3P are nothing but the product, process, and people. These are the main three stakeholders in any organization. So this quality assessment is done with the help of process, people, and product. I'm sorry, in the diagram, twice the process is coming. I hope my diagram is visible to all of you. Okay, so in case of product, the information is the output, and that information further can be enhanced with the data, correctness, and costing. And when we are executing any process, we need to consider different quality parameters such as operation, performance, portability, maintainability, and usability. Now, there may be a one question can be asked: why only these five specific quality for execution, and why these three specific quality for information? It is only because these parameters are extracted based on the common or general business model. So if you apply this particular tree structure diagram to any type of problem domain, you will get the correct outcome. Now, along with this quality model, we have proposed one more thing, that is a quality life cycle. You might have seen different life cycle which are helpful to predict that next step in the execution. So quality life cycle for enterprise architecture will check the performance enrichment. It will try to identify different parameters. It will evaluate the importance of the parameter. It will test whether the parameter is correctly giving the output. And if it is not, then redefine the quality parameter so that the enterprise architecture level will work securely and it will generate the accurate output. Now, when I'm saying that I'm identifying any quality parameter, so actually I'm defining some objective with respect to the product. I'm defining some strategy with respect to the people. I'm defining some planning for with respect to the process, which are all involved for the ELM. After identifying this quality parameter, when I'm evaluating that, I need to make a relationship between the quality parameter with respect to their business level. Means actually which level the quality parameter is used. Top management may have the higher impact, lower management may have the lower impact. According to that, the association need to be built. The measuring and testing the impact of this parameter as per the level will help us to find out the poor parameter. And based on that, analyze whether this particular parameter is required, if required, at which level it is required, and if not required, then how, if I remove, then what will be the impact on other level. So this is the life cycle which can be useful for predicting or finding the quality. Along with this, in the same paper, we have proposed the third table structure, which will actually define the quality parameter. Now, here I have tried to find out the association between the enterprise architecture level along with the 3P. So that's why I have listed that these are the 4L and these are the 3P. Now, you may ask the question that in enterprise architecture definition, I mentioned about something called as an infrastructure. But in this case, I have not considered that. But that infrastructure level is merged with the technology level over here. So instead of application and infrastructure separately, I have merged and labeled that as a technology. So in this particular framework, we are trying to, we as an author, trying to predict some of the quality parameters. If any organization try to relate this quality parameter or they will try to force on this type of quality framework, it is very much sure that they will get good business as an outcome or it will be helpful for them to get the good decision making. Now, when I'm saying that product and business is there, so I'm focusedly it is focusing on the strategy management. When business is there with the people, it is to the roles which are involved in strategy management. When the business is there with the process, it is working on the business value modeling. The same way, when the data and product are related, it is focusing on the data handling, different way the capturing, processing, storing, and sharing can be done. When the data is related with the people, different roles related to data, like a data specialist, will be listed out over here. When the data is related with the process, how the data modeling can be done, how the policy will be there for data sharing, data backup policy, archival, security, everything. The same way application level with product will give you the development life cycle and the application with the people will again give the roles who are involved for implementation of application. Application with the process will give you the quality assessment which will be help for audit, performance, security and function. In case of technology, as I told you, that it is mostly focusing on the infrastructure. The product is working on how the solution technology will be implemented. The people with the technology will give you the technology specialists who are actually involved in implementation and maintaining the model. And process is nothing but the technical dependencies processes which will take care of the overall turnover. The proposed outcome of this particular method is nothing but This particular paper is focusing on the detailed working of EA and along with differentiating output of problem statement. And here it is giving that output can be measured in the format of information or it can be executed in the format of execution. In this particular paper, I propose quality life cycle shows different phases for maintaining the performance phase for enterprise architecture. Even the enterprise quality enterprise architecture framework shows final quality parameters and that too mapped with 3P, that is process, product and people component with all layers, that is the four layers, business layer, application layer, technology layer, and proposed quality frameworks gives the detail about the studied quality parameters output. So you just have to focus on that quality parameter and you will get the outcome. In short, at the conclusion part, I like to say that quality is most important in implemented enterprise architecture. Quality in EA will effectively satisfy the stakeholders' expectations. This paper, as a conclusion, I can say that the different quality parameters are classified and they are grouped as a quality parameters. Here in this particular paper, these three P are related with four Ls, and this paper also proposes quality life cycle, which will help to associate quality with different EA levels. Based on the exploration of generic quality layers for EA, we can again propose specific quality EA. It is like depending on the specific domain, we can come out with very specific quality parameter which need to be focused. So these are the some of the references which I have used in my paper. So thank you very much. I'm open for any question answer.
Thank you so much, Aarti, for your presentation. Please all do not share your slides so the audience can also ask some questions. Any of the author have any question? Yes. You can please come, Prof.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Thank you. I sorry, I only catch your later part. Your talk seems very interesting. The quality, particularly. Your presentation reminded me Christopher Alexander. I don't know if you know him. Back to 1970s, he developed something called quality without a name.
Okay.
The idea is because he's architect and builder, and of course also the source of inspiration for the object-oriented programming, and later the Wikipedia, the framework. So yeah, he's commonly recognized the father of OO design and the Wikipedia framework.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so that's why I said that your presentation, the quality aspect in particular, you're talking about the architecture, of course, entrepreneur and enterprise
Right, sir.
architecture. It's kind of it differs from the building construction, but essentially, I think this computer architecture and the building architecture have something in common. I mean, the overall framework, what kind of so do you think I think because I'm the researcher who has been substantially inspired by Alexander, in particular his notion of the quality without a name, and actually it is what I presented the first day, the structure beauty.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you think from your presentation, I sensed that the quality is pretty much mixed up with subjectivity and objectivity, because you have three aspects: the people, processing, and products. Right? Yeah. What do you think? How this quality can be assessed objectively? or they may have some consensus among the people about its quality, because I think it is a deep link, your quality and to the quality without the name, the Alexander's. So do you see? Yeah, could you elaborate on subjectivity or objectivity of the quality which you presented? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. Such a very nice elaboration you have given me. And I will definitely check with the name which you mentioned. First of all, this particular quality measures I am trying to predict because enterprise architecture is widely used in organization, and they are actually implementing, and most of the ISO certification or different CMM level, they follow the quality. But still, there are certain parameters which are already defined, and we are not thinking out of the box for that. Now, as you mentioned, how the subjectively or objectively we can access that. So there is artificial intelligence concept which we can use. I have already published one chapter book on it, where with the help of multi-common decision parameters, like there is a fuzzy concept can be implemented to measure the people perspective. And it is like when I mentioned the life cycle that I need to evaluate. So I need to show them mathematically how the quality is important or that parameter is actually creating the impact. So with the help of neural network, fuzzy logic, or even genetic algorithm, we can definitely measure any quality parameters for the process or product also. And for people, as I've mentioned, with the help of one fuzzy architecture, we have already proposed different ways we can define. For example, any project manager is thinking that this process is very important. But the same moment, the application developer may think that this process is okay, it's not that much important. So I need to find out the fuzziness behind the top manager person and with respect to the application manager. And then we can define their roles, their position in the enterprise architecture, and accordingly we can find out the impact. So it is possible. There is a mathematical formula which is really possible. Only one mathematical formula I know, but slowly and steadily, when I will research on particular domain more, I think me and my madam will definitely come out with some mathematical model for process and for product also. I hope I tried my level best to answer your query.
Thank thank you. I think the voice is not so good, but
Yeah.
thank you very much for your response. Yeah.
Yes,
Okay.
Aarti,
It was
one more
like,
thing.
yes,
Aarti,
sir.
one more thing.
Yes, sir.
Your paper is with me,
Right, sir.
and yes, it is in IEEE proceedings, so it is okay.
Okay,
But
sir.
if you check your table one, can you share
Okay.
your table one? And I'm just looking your paper now, fortunately or unfortunately. And please always keep in your mind that
Okay.
the framework is the something in software engineering is something is the mix up of the models, several models. It cannot be a table.
Okay.
It cannot be a table in any discipline. So
Right.
because this is the IEEE proceedings and the paper is not published, that's why I have not checked your paper in the
Okay.
final stage. Please communicate with me to
Okay, sir.
finalize your paper because I checked the comments. Comments are okay, but not very appropriate. So, because your paper is going to publish under the banner of ICCSA, so you must have to improve, right? A lot. So maybe you can do something in framework, maybe remove this table or change the name of the table because a table cannot be a framework. First thing,
Okay, sir.
right? Note this one. Second
Okay.
thing is that you have time, you need to do some, even a small implementation of the
Hmm.
framework. In
Hmm.
software engineering, there is a no any value of any framework or model without implementation. This is not the social sciences. This
Right.
is not a means law or geography or means the art subjects where you are talking about the models. Model is useless without any experimental result. Even a
Right.
small presentation. A small results is enough, but you have to improve it, right? Please.
Right.
Okay.
So this is
So
a proposed architecture. So that's why I have used the word called as a proposed EA architecture.
no, it is not proposed. Well, that's what I'm saying. If it is proposed, do not submit it. And
Okay.
because the conference is, it was, in fact, when I saw the quality, that's why I motivated you to work. But still, you have time because the IEEE is a big delay. They are delaying the process for submission. Please do some implementation, include some results of the implementation. Is I'm telling
Actually,
you
I have
again.
done the result. I have actually implemented the things as well, but
So,
that I have already published in one of the books. So that's why I didn't add that in here. This was
so
our first paper, and then we wrote that book chapter, and hence that part came in that book chapter.
no, but it should not correlate. One means collapse as well because IEEE is
No,
going to
no, no, no.
from
Yeah, so
the
it is
13.
not going to correlate. It is not going to create plagiarism at all. They are two distinct different. But we have implemented this, and we have implemented that this for people perspective. So that's why I said that we have implemented this, but we have to work for the product and people. Sorry, product and process.
Yeah, this is my suggestion, please,
Yes, sir.
just to
Yes, sir.
include some
It's a very
some
nice.
results.
Thank you.
Include some results. What
Yes.
you did it, I am not concerned about that. When you publish,
Okay.
congratulations for your publication in a book. But
Okay.
here we care about the other things. Please, that this table one, and
Okay.
also just to make a discussion and try to prompt the reply of the emails, right?
I did. Only one email I was missed out. And
No, I
then,
gave you even a link that, okay, let us talk because you have a lot of questions and
yeah.
misconception about the conference, that what is IEEE, how it is a Springer and this or that one. And I invited you
Right.
and even I have not received any response in next 10 days. And so forget about the
Sir,
time as well. Everybody is busy.
I'm so
Please
sorry for
don't
my.
mind that all those what
I'm
happened in
so
the
sorry
past.
for that.
So let us
I'm so
thank you
sorry.
so much for your presentation. Let us go
Thank
for
you,
the
sir.
next
Thank you.
presentation.
Yes.
Thank you so much and a big hand to
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
yes, okay. So we are going to invite the not last, the third presentation for the transforming DIGRO into a multi-attribute digital maturity model, formalization and implementation of the proposal. And Paulino di Felice,
Yes.
Gatenino, Paolone, Daniele Francesco and Mato are the authors, and I'm sure that one of them is going to, because this is Paulino is present and both
Yes.
two of the authors are present. Please share your screen.
Can you see my
Yeah,
screen?
it is on.
Chair?
Everything is okay. Paulino,
Chair, can you hear me?
Paulino, you are here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm here.
Paulino, the Felice, and
Yes.
yes, please share your screen.
Yeah, I tried to share my screen with you. Let me say. Which option should I click on? Full screen?
On the
Full screen, yes, but we can't see anything now. Yeah, tell. This arrow button on the below screen, the arrow button to share the screen.
I tried. Can you see my screen?
Yes, a bit.
Let me. This one? Can you
Yes,
see it?
good. Go ahead.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, please go for the full screen and start presentation.
Okay. So, thank you, Chairman, and good morning to everybody. The paper that I'm going to present is the result of long-time cooperation between a group of friends working for a medium firm located in the Abruzzo region, which is located in the central part of Italy, and myself. I'm a professor at the University of L'Aquila, a university located in the same Italian region. Small and medium-sized enterprises are the backbone of the economy of most countries all over the world. For example, in Europe, they represent 99% of all businesses and employ around 100 million people. In order to be competitive, SMEs must equip themselves with IT technologies and, of course, adopt new information processes capable of favoring the sharing of resources and the engagement of all corporate stakeholders, including customers. Unfortunately, the today level of digitalization in Europe is just around 20% inside SMEs, and the situation is even worse in Italy. Recent studies pointed out that awareness and capabilities are the primary knowledge gaps that limit SMEs to adopt digital solutions. In light of case studies carried out in several European states, it is possible to state that making digital maturity assessment tools available to SMEs increment their awareness on the competitive advantages implied by a digital transformation. Through the Digital Europe program, started at the end of last year, and European Regional Development Funds, a huge amount of funding will be made available to set up a network of digital innovation hubs, so the way they call them, that will cover geographically the whole territory of Europe. Each digital innovation hub will be at working distance of the stakeholders, speak their language, will help firms to become more performant. Digital innovation hubs basically are called to provide the following 4 services to SMEs: test before invest, skill and training, support to find investment, innovation, ecosystem, and networking. Services under the test before invest category include awareness raising and digital maturity assessment. In this paper, we address the problem of digital maturity assessment of SMEs. Today, many digital maturity models are available. Among them, we selected a very recent proposal by North and his colleagues, which is mentioned as reference 11 in the paper. They introduced the so-called DIGRO framework as a conceptual tool useful to assess the digital maturity level of SMEs, as well as the capabilities associated to each level that are necessary for promoting a digital-enabled growth. DIGRO, as a solid theoretical basis, has been long been evaluated on the field, but the underlying data analysis might result tricky in real context. To keep things as much as possible simple, we rearranged the DIGRO into a multi-attribute digital maturity model. And for doing this, we adopted the so-called decision expert method, which is mentioned in references 7, 8, 9 you see on the screen. Modeling the expert knowledge about the first digital maturity using such a method offers many advantages. Specifically, it is easy to be used, it provides convincing explanation about the FAWA score, it allows multiple interactive analysis, it is largely accepted by users, and not less important, it has been implemented in a free tool that is available. Such a tool is called DEXI. The theoretical soundness of the DIGRO framework, combined with the advantages I just mentioned, make our proposal particularly suitable for assisting the nascent digital innovation hubs in the activities devoted to awareness raising and digital maturity assessment of SMEs. The remaining part of the speech is organized as follows. Now, briefly, because of time limits, I will just mention the background necessary to understand the paper and somehow the speech, the growth framework, and the DEX method. Then I will show the implementation and as a digital maturity model, as I said before, a very short and simple example if I will have time, and a few words about what we are doing in the present days. The degrowth framework is structured as a sequence of 4 stages, each denoting a challenge for the firm and hence a capability that the firm must either have or it must acquire to overcome the challenge. And if we will look on the screen, we see that stage 1 is about sensing digital-enabled growth potential, while stage two is about developing a digital-enabled growth strategy and mindset. Stage 3 is about sensing digital-enabled growth potential, and the last stage 4 is about managing resources for digital transformation. In turn, each stage of the growth is defined in terms of 4 capacities. For instance, if we refer to stage 1, we see the 4 capacities. First, searching for digital-enabled growth opportunities. Second, understanding and developing digital customer needs. Third, sensing technology-driven opportunities. Fourth, use of external sources for digital innovation. Each capacity within each stage is evaluated starting from level 0 up to level 5. The slide details the evaluation grid adopted by the authors, North and his colleagues, for the 4 capacity of stage 1, just as an example. And what we see is that level 0 corresponds to an SME where digitalization is rather a threat than an opportunity. On the other side, level 5 is the case of a company which identifies systematically digitally enabled growth opportunities. The growth has been validated longly on the field, as I said before. More than 500 Spanish SMEs have been involved in pilot studies. And now a few words about the DEX method. Such a method is structured as an hierarchy, attributes at the bottom level. Actually, the leaves of the tree are called basic attributes. And in the context of our study, the leaves denote the levels corresponding to the 4 capacity for each of the 4 stages of the growth, while the internal attributes of the hierarchy are called aggregate attributes. All attributes are assumed to be described by qualitative, discrete, and ordered values. For instance, value like bad or good, so that a higher ordinal value represents a better preference. The digital maturity level of an SME is evaluated through a bottom-up approach that aggregates the basic attribute values of the leaves up to a single value of the root, of course. The evaluation of the alternatives is carried out by means of utility functions, which are represented in the form of if-then decision rules. Let us assume that A0 is an aggregate attribute and A1, A2, A3, and so on are its children. The utility function f of A1, A2, A3, and so on denotes the value of the aggregate attribute A0. The values of a utility function can be represented in a table where each row gives the value of such a function for one specific combination of the lower level attribute values. We have implemented, as I said before, the degrowth method by means of DEX, and what we obtained is on the screen. As we can see, the model consists of 4 distinct trees corresponding to the 4 stages of the growth. Each tree has 4 leaves, the basic attribute of the hierarchy. one for each capacity of the corresponding stage, and of course a root, stage 1, stage 2, and so on. Overall, the multi-attribute digital maturity model is composed, as you see, of 16 basic attributes and 4 aggregate attributes. And this attribute takes value from, respectively, basic attributes from the set 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, while the aggregate attributes take values from non-existent, initial, encouraged, practiced, and so on. The choice of the latter values comes from several papers which used them previously in the literature. The column DMM, Digital Maturity Model, in the table on the screen collects summary data about the number of nodes and the number of hidden rules for the 4 trees of the model I've just shown to you. As we can see, 4 basic attributes give rise to 5,184 if-then decision rules. This combinatorial exclusion makes the method absolutely unsuitable for actual usage. To overcome this problem, it was necessary to restructure the 4 hierarchies as you see on the screen, just adding an intermediate level. And if we go back to the feature, to the table, we see that despite there is an increasing number of intermediate nodes, the number of if-then decision rules is drastically reduced. Now we have just 432 rules, which makes the second solution, of course, of practical utility. We have implemented the 4 structured trees by means of the DEXI open source tool, and the slide shows how the result looks like. On the left side of the screen, we see the 4 trees and their structuring, while on the right, we see, with regard to stage 1, the value of the intermediary and aggregate attributes and the root as well, and the number of functions that are necessary for making those computations. And this screen basically confirms what I just said. The leaves takes value from the set 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and the other nodes take values from non-existent, initial, and so on. A question on the screen shows the utility function that we adopted for the computation of the values for all the aggregate attributes belonging to the 4 hierarchies of the model. The equation tells us that let A1 be equal to V1 and A2 be equal to V2. If V1 is equal to V2, then A0 is equal to V1. Otherwise, we take the floor of V1 plus V2 divided by 2. And this slide and the next one, because of time limit, I prefer to string a little bit the presentation, just show the way we computed the value for the aggregate attributes at depth 1, and the similar procedure was applied for the root of the 4 trees by applying, of course, the evaluation function I discussed before. In the paper, we propose several examples which make use of the proposed multi-attribute digital maturity model with the final aim of showing how simple is its usage, how simple to be interpreted are the outcomes. Now, I just introduce a very simple example. It concerns the assessment of the digital maturity level of a single SME called SME1 on the screen. The figure on the left shows the values of the basic and aggregate attributes for the 4 trees, while the figure on the right side shows the corresponding radar chart. It is sufficient a rapid look to such a diagram to understand where the SMS is, what its weaknesses are and what should be done next in the digital transformation journey. As I said, other examples are present in the paper. In particular, we made comparison of several SMEs. This might be useful for other purposes that I want to touch in this very short presentation. What we are doing now, in the present days, we are carrying out experiments in real settings that is within SMEs located in the Abruzzo region with the objective to validate, to make a validation of the adopted utility function. Actually, we are comparing 3 different utility functions, those corresponding to equation 2, 3, and 4 on the screen. As we can see, moving from the top to the bottom, the assessment of the digital maturity model of SMEs becomes more rigid. Thank you for your attention.
Nice presentation. Thank you. So if there is any questions from the author side, sorry, from the audience, all those authors present in this session, please raise your hand, or you can also write into the chat box. So I have one question from my side.
Yeah.
So what do you gain at the end of the experimentation?
Sorry?
What is your major gain, major achievements in this work?
As I said before, the work by Norte and his colleagues that was the basis of our proposal was subjected to a long time experimentation on the field. This is important to see how equations relate to reality, how people working in firms react about them, how they evaluate them personally. And that's basically the same reason that we have, because we used an equation, so a utility function in the paper, but of course we can adopt other equations. This is something that is important to validate, to fix if some shortcoming is behind, and at the end have a tool that we hope that digital innovation hubs will adopt in the everyday life.
Yes, thank you so much. So give him a big hand. So I would like to call to the Bedur. Bedur, are you present there? Please unmute your mic and
Yes.
make your presentation in 10 minutes, please. Try to summarize
Yeah,
your
yeah.
work.
Yeah,
Maximum
sure.
in 10 minutes, because already we are like running behind that time. Yes.
Okay. So hi again. So my name is Bidur. So today's I'm gonna talk about Qatar's smart and sustainable urban project, specifically in Msheireb, downtown Doha. So before we start, I would like to introduce Qatar. So Qatar is a small country in the Middle East. So the area is around 11,000 kilometers square. The population is around 3 million. And Qatar is hosting the 2022 World Cup. So I hope I can see you all during that time in November and December. During this presentation, I will go through the abstract introduction, the research methodology used. I will give you a brief history of Msheireb and how Msheireb is considered as a smart and sustainable city, and then we'll wrap up the presentation. So for the abstract, so basically, Msheireb is located in the heart of the city of the capital Qatar, and it is one of the oldest cities that is rich with cultural heritage. Smart cities are initiative of Qatar national vision to be an advanced society capable of supporting its growth and expansion while providing high quality living for its citizens by 2030. So this paper uses the previous literatures and the Smart Sustainable City Standard to demonstrate how Msheireb project is considered as a smart and sustainable city. So before we start, let's introduce what is a smart city. Let's define it based on the International Telecommunication Union and the United Nations Economic Commission for Europe. So smart city is an innovative city that uses ICTs and other means to improve the quality of life, efficiency of urban operation and services, competitiveness, while ensuring that it meets the needs of the present to future generations concerning economic, social, environmental, as well as cultural aspects. So in terms of Qatar, Qatar experienced its first urbanization period in the second half of the 20th century. This is basically was linked to the rapidly increasing oil and gas production during that time. Then, a new development strategies to diversify the country's economy have resulted in a second urban transformation process. Then Qatar developed its Qatar National Vision 2030, and it's included the smart cities as one of the main pillars initiative. And today we have the first smart city in the country, which is Msheireb downtown Doha, which merged urbanization with culture and heritage in one place. So the research methodology used was revising the previous studies and literature, and then using the United for Smart Sustainable Cities Indicators standard to compare it. So just let me give you a brief history of Msheireb. So the historic Msheireb neighborhood is located in the heart of Doha, which is connected to the waterfront through the development of the Corniche Promenade, as it can be seen on the picture. The population at that time was 12,000, where 350 were pearling doves. The name Msheireb is an Arabic name, means the place to drink water. And the neighborhood contained the first street supplied with electricity. So these features demonstrate the importance of this neighborhood in the country. Now I'm gonna discuss how Msheireb project is considered as a smart and sustainable city. But first, let's see some background information about the project. So the goal of the project is to reconnect people with their roots and help them recover a sense of belonging and community. The project started in 2010, occupying a land area of 31 hectares. The cost of the project was around 5.5 million US dollar, billion, sorry. This is a view of Msheireb downtown Doha from Google Earth, just for you to see how the project is. So the red borders considered the project, which is Msheireb downtown. And now, now this is the, I will go through the KPI for the Smart Sustainable City, and I will illustrate how Msheireb project is fulfilling each dimension. So the United for Smart Sustainable Cities standard is based on the United Nations initiative that is coordinated by the United Nations Economics of Europe and ITU. It promotes public policy that encourage the use of ICTs to make the transition to smart, sustainable cities easier and to be used as an assessment tool. So the standard is basically considered of the three main dimensions, which is economy, environment, society, and culture. Then each dimension is further categorized into sub-dimension, and also each sub-dimension is divided into categories. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'll focus only on the main dimension. So first, for the economy, so the project notably integrated Internet of Things system, data platforms, and digital applications to improve the quality of life in the area. There are around 10,000 smart security cameras throughout the area that provide sophisticated protection and high-resolution video streaming. This feature gives the user a sense of security and comfort by safeguarding the entire environment. It is also worth mentioning that Msherib has constructed an automatic waste collection system. This system uses subsurface vacuum technology to accommodate the trash bins. Msherib contains a space called Barahat Msherib, which is the main square to allow people to meet and interact with each other. It is also located between retail shops, restaurants, and hotels. And during perfect summer, the daytime weather can reach about 50 degrees Celsius. Thus, the air temperature in Barahat Msherib can be set to less than 30 degrees Celsius, allowing customers to enjoy the outdoor activities all year. So as can be seen in the picture, the roof is movable roof, which allows to shade the sun and it pull the heat from down to top, which results in lowering the temperature in the area. So to continue, so the pavement and sidewalks were developed into a network of 4 to 7 meter wide lanes to ensure smooth pedestrian movement throughout the Msherib neighborhood. Msherib contains more than 100 buildings, making up a complex, including cultural offerings, residential and business properties, entertainment, and retail spaces. So the project also is utilizing smart transportation within the place. Tram systems act as a means of transportation between Msherib districts. In addition, Msherib includes the main metro station, which helps to reduce the traffic. And the project also have over 10,000 parking spaces and over 6 basements.
Please conclude. Please conclude. Budur, one more presenter is present.
Okay, because on the part one. Okay, so I'll just go through the environment. So in Msherib project, the only concern regarding the standard was the air quality, where it's considered, the air there considered unhealthy. Then the project also designed inspired by Arabic and Islamic culture to promote local heritage. And it incorporated museums from renovated houses. And finally, the buildings and the streets are all named with the same old name to preserve culture and heritage. Thank you.